everybody, it's your girl Katya, and I'm here with Aaron Kunkel, the director of the boy band con, the Lou Pearlman story, which premiered here at South by Southwest. Thank you, Aaron, for taking the time to chat with us. I had the opportunity to see the movie the other day, and I will say is I expected one thing and you gave us so much more. Talk a little bit about how you got involved in this movie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So I work for Kunkel Media Group, a production company in LA, and my producer, Matthew Ducey, worked there with me. Originally had this idea just because we thought that Lou Pearlman was such a fascinating person in history that not a lot of people know that the same person created two of the biggest boy bands of all time. And I think through that started to get me really interested, and then he actually talked to Lance Bass from NSYNC. And he, talking to him, I really got engaged with what he wanted to do, which was that this was a story that had been told a lot of times and had always focused on salaciousness and rumor mongering, and that it wasn't what his experience was, and that wasn't what the experience of a lot of the people that he knew in the story was. So he had always wanted to tell the story the right way and get the right people and the people who were actually there to tell it. So I think that was what really inspired me to want to tell this story, to get the real story out from the people who were actually there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a horrible thing to say it this way, but it seems like, the taking advantage of young artists seems to be something that comes around with every new wave. You hear these artists that sold all these records, especially during the 90s when people were still buying physical copies and not having, still living at home with their parents and not being able to pay their bills. And that part really resonated, like when they spoke about only receiving a check for $10,000.
Yeah, it's really interesting that, they all are very understanding of the fact that, yes, they were huge pop stars and they got to go around the world doing what they loved, which is singing and dancing and entertaining people. But ultimately, it was really hurtful and shocking to them that at the end of the day, they were supposed to get this huge payment after selling tens of millions of albums. And they would have, what they ultimately got, they would have made more if they had just been working at a restaurant as a server.
Yeah.
And it's disheartening, I think, to a lot of them. And it really made them rethink a relationship they had with this man that, up until that point, had been very positive and very supportive and almost like a member of the family. So I think from there, they really started to rethink what should their next step be.
I mean, I think so too. How was it getting? Obviously you're going to get Lance to talk about it since he's involved in the film and his mom. But how was it getting some of the other folks to talk about it on camera?
Initially everybody, to a T pretty much, was a little bit apprehensive, and it's kind of to the point that I was saying before that Lance had been making, that everyone had seen this story told and had really didn't like the way it was told because it wasn't their experience. So I think a lot of people were really apprehensive, and you have to give a lot of credit here to Lance himself, because his involvement and him being a producing partner on this, he brought that level of trust. He brought the trust that these people knew him, they knew that he was a good person and that he was going to take care of their story and tell it the right way. And I think that ultimately was what was really important, because as I found out, when you're making a documentary, trust is all you have when it comes to getting people to speak, and trust that you're going to present their story in the truthful way. And I think, it's understandable that people are apprehensive. It's understandable that some even didn't want to be a part of it. But it makes me really grateful for everybody who is willing to give us their story.
Absolutely. Now, one thing that did strike me the fact that JC was in it, it seems as though that JC has been more private about his life since the NSYNC days. Like, he attempted a solo career, and then he's kind of made the conscientious choice to be like, you know what, I've lived my life, because he's been in the public eye since he was a little kid. I'm going to take back some of my privacy. Like, he's not very active on social media and so forth.
Yeah, and I think that, again, that just speaks to Lance. Like, something Lance has always talked about is that the 5 guys from the band, they're all still good friends, and they still talk all the time. And I think, ultimately, JC decided to be innocent because of his friendship with Lance, and because he knew that Lance wasn't going to let this turn into something that it shouldn't be.
Now, the other piece that was fascinating to me was when Ashley was talking about the late Rich Cronin. And it's also sad to say that Devin recently passed from LFO. So you have this moment. Was there any, like, concern about how his family would feel, you know, having that piece in there, seeing that he's not with us anymore?
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion around that, and ultimately it was something that it was a story that Rich had told on Howard Stern, and it was a story that Ashley had heard directly from Rich multiple times.
Okay.
And so we felt that it was something that we felt that it was something that was an important part of the story to tell, because we didn't want to subvert the issue. We didn't want to act, it seemed like we weren't addressing that issue of Lou's life head on. So it's something we wanted to have in there, and ultimately, just unfortunately couldn't speak to Rich himself. We wanted his voice to be a part of the documentary also.
Absolutely. Now, the other person that was really, like, eye-opening was Aaron Carter. Like, we know that there have been some issues within the Carter family between the siblings and also the parents. Like, when they had their reality show, that was a little dicey. But and also knowing some of the personal problems that Aaron has had, he seems to be, out of everyone in the film, the one that is most, who defends Lou the most. Do you know what I mean? And do you think maybe some of that is because he became like surrogate family due to the fact that Aaron's home life was a little unstable?
Honestly, it's hard to say. Obviously, Aaron, especially when we were shooting the interview, was in a rough point of his life. But, I think that's 100% true, that Aaron really speaks to, we really wanted his voice to be in this movie because we really wanted him to be able to tell his story. And Aaron speaks to that feeling that he felt in a very strong way, that a lot of these guys saw Lou as a father figure and saw him as a part of their family. And I think for Aaron, he obviously, as you said, has had some family issues, and I think that probably meant all the more that Lou was somebody who was very important as a member of his family growing up, especially since he'd been with Lou since he was 6 or 7 years old. So I think that you can see, Aaron, we're really glad that Aaron got to tell his part of the story in the documentary, just because we're glad that there was that voice of defense and that voice of defense for Lou and everything he had done for all of these guys.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what always was fascinating to me is all the people that worked with Lou, right? That they didn't know, or were they getting, how can I say this? Were they getting cheated also? Because to me, like, one thing that was consistent in that movie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, he's been, in all honesty, he's been cutting corners since he was a little kid. And so if he cheated the talent, who's to say that he didn't cheat, Johnny and Donald Wright, who were managing the boys? I think Johnny still manages Justin. But, the Backstreet Boys took their situation to someone else, understandably. The gentleman that works public relations, all the choreographers, and the list goes on and on. It seems as though, did they know anything was going on, or were they also part of getting swindled or not getting paid properly?
I mean, yeah, to your point, it just seems like everybody in his life has been swindled in some way, shape, or form. Lou is just notorious at lying. Even Johnny says at the end, he's kind of like a tabloid. 10% of what he said would be true, and 90% would be him taking it somewhere else. It's interesting that, yeah, even all the way back to his childhood, all his childhood friends, said that everybody knew him as a fibber, somebody who would aggrandize himself or add little extra things to the truth. Honestly, the one person that we found that didn't really feel that way was Gary Blunter, who was one of his childhood friends. She's in the film, and we have always treated her like a sister, and treated her very well, and he didn't have anything ill to say about him in that regard. But on the whole, it seems like pretty much everyone in some way, shape, or form experienced Lou's lies and, blending of fact and fiction.
Could it also be, though, it seems like he seems to have this need to have this type of, I don't want to say tumultuous, but I need to have one over on you when he's dealing with men or males, and she's a woman. There's not a lot of, I don't know if in your research you came across, but there's no here's a man of a certain age, and there's no context about his relationship with women. Did he date? Or his sexuality as a whole is very ambiguous.
We know that he did have a girlfriend later in life. She was a nurse who had actually helped him recover from a surgery, I believe, that he had. And she was with him. She declined to be a part of the documentary. But that's the only relationship we knew of in that sense. It's interesting, when it comes to the male and female, you talk to Nikki from Innocent, and she has a bit different of a perspective about how Lou treated her, and you see some of that. I don't want to spoil anything, but you see some of the ways in which she treated her, and it did seem like there was a level of disrespect for her.
Definitely. It definitely seems like he was favoring the boys a little bit more. That drive to help them be successful it seemed to be more apparent, whereas with his female artists, it was like, well, if it works, but his focus was definitely more on the boys. Was there anything that you found?
Yeah, for sure. To that point, we didn't make it into the documentary, but Nikki told us that their band's name was Innocent, and apparently Lou never even copyrighted that name. That's how little he believed in them being successful. And I believe they ended up getting sued by those that actually owned the name Innocent for using it.
Wow. Was there anything, did you find anything later in life, as he's in prison, and that phone call, that was one thing, but was there anything in him where he was like, you know what, I got greedy, I overextended, any remorse, even when he was in court, that part, was there anything that you were like, you know what, there's a little part of him that is like, you know what, I got greedy, I tried to do too much?
From everyone we talked to, honestly, we didn't see a lot of that. That was one of the things that especially the guys from Slams included, that was what they wanted. That was all they wanted was to see some level of remorse or some apology from you. And we don't know anyone who got that. I mean, Alan, the friend, says in the doc that he doesn't think that Lou understood how much of a criminal he actually was. And whether that was Lou putting up a front or whether that was a situation where you tell so many lies or bend to the truth so much that you end up believing it yourself, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it does seem like, I think when Lance was talking about when they went to court, Like, I don't think, first you have Backstreet separating themselves, boom, 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 and they continue to have great success. They release additional albums that do immensely well, continue to tour. And then you have NSYNC, who wins the court case, who not only leaves him, but they get the opportunity to go to a whole new label. I don't think it ever dawned on him that these kids, in his mind, had any legal standing, that they had any rights, because he felt he put out the money. At least that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was. Johnny actually puts it well, saying that we looked at it like one of his blimp or airship contracts, where if you sign the contract for 12 months, this is what it's going to be for 12 months. But in the music industry in particular, and all the entertainment industry, there becomes a point when the power shifts from from the music creator, or from the label to the music creators, to the band themselves, and contracts need to be renegotiated at that point, and that's generally what happens in the music industry. But Lou was very unresponsive to that argument and didn't understand why, if they had signed a contract, that wasn't just what it was going to be from then on.
You know what that also struck me? That even if they weren't going to, they still had a case, because generally, from my understanding, having covered music a little bit, you can't be the label, the management, and so forth. And tried, like, he was double dipping. So for that alone, he was already breaking the rule, because he was benefiting as a label, as a manager, even though he made it seem like Johnny and Donna were managing them, but he was still getting a cut, and the fact he made himself the sixth member.
Yeah, and on top of all that, though, Lance describes it as quadruple dipping, or even more, because then on top of all that, there was recoupables, which was something none of them knew about going in. But their whole careers, he'd been taking them out to all these fancy dinners and treating them to this really lavish lifestyle and giving them all these gifts. While at the same time he was just charging all of that back to the band. So
absolutely.
Lance even talked about it. I think one year we got him a present, maybe it was a watch or something like that, or a jacket. And he said basically once they went through the court case, he saw that birthday present was listed as a recoupable and had been charged back to him.
Wow. What do you want folks to get out of your movie that may not have been familiar? We're not NSYNC bands. People like my daughter's generation who missed that whole phenomenon.
I think that the two big things are, one, just be cautious, especially in the entertainment industry, but really in any line of business. Just make sure you understand what kind of contract you're getting into. Make sure the right kind of lawyer, if you need to, is looking at it. That's something that, these guys didn't. They had a lawyer look at the contract, but it wasn't an entertainment lawyer. So it's the ins and outs of how the business works. Wasn't something that lawyer was expert in. And also, I think we'd love it if people, it allowed people to really think about truth and lies and fact and fiction in their own lives. It really felt like this is a time when that's something that's really important and present in the world. There's all this talk of fake news and people believing their own side of the story, or only finding the facts that allow them to believe what they want to believe through confirmation bias or what have you. And I think that's something that I know I fall victim to all the time. And I think I would really hope that this movie would encourage people to take a step back and just analyze the situation, try to find as many facts, do your research, and then make a conclusion based on that.
Outstanding. And also, what are the plans for the film? Is it a theater release plan? Is it going with streaming outlet share with the public so that they know how they can support this movie?
So we will be premiering on YouTube Red on April 3rd. We are premiering on YouTube Original on April 3rd. So as a part of YouTube Premium, you can see this film April 3rd, so get a subscription.
Absolutely. Well, Aaron, I want to thank you so much for making the movie. A lot of us, like, I took my sister to a lot of NSYNC concerts, and we saw LFO and all of that. When she was a teenager, she was a huge fan. And I'm just glad that they told the story. I'm glad that Lance was involved, and so that, you know, again, it may be foretelling for other young artists that are getting into the business that this is a business, and, you know, just to be cautionary.
As AJ from Backstreet Boys says, always remember it's show business. You can be doing your show and the business to be walking out the back door.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.